You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is David Smith, Senior Analyst for the Morgan Report, which you can find online at silver-investor.com. Merry Christmas, David.
The same to you, Jim. We're getting ready for a great year next year. It was pretty crummy this year in certain respects, but I think it's going to be a whole lot different in 2015.
You believe silver is going to come on apparently like a tsunami in the new year?
I believe it will, and it won't be January 1st that we'll see a vertical price, but through 2015, I think we're going to see a very strong price on gold and silver due to what I would call a tsunami return wave. And you know, Jim, if you think about a tsunami, the first wave that hits is a pretty big one, and it's devastating, and it surprises everybody. And then it withdraws and creates a lot of dry ground, and things look a whole lot different than they did before, and it causes a lot of confusion, and some people even lose interest. And then when that second wave hits, that's when the real destruction takes place, because it's bringing in all the stuff it took back out from the first wave. In the case of silver, I think we're going to see what I would call a tsunami return wave because of disruptions in the supply due to the price destruction we've seen over the last 3 years with that wave receding, and also because of demand, which is going through the roof unbeknownst to many people watching this. So it's really a good news story as well as what we might think of a bad news story, because the demand for gold and silver in India and China is continuing to go through the roof at these prices.
And maybe something else people aren't aware of, besides being a precious metal, silver is also a very vital industrial metal with a big demand for electronics.
It is, and that's what adds a real kicker to the silver price, and that's what I think makes it more volatile than gold and has the potential to rise on a percentage basis much greater than gold. You know, for a number of years, David Morgan, James Turk, and a few others have been saying that we will see three-digit silver at some point before this bull market is over, and we believe that the secular bull market is still in play, even though we've had a cyclical bear market for the last 3.5 to 4 years. And so a three-digit silver price would take it to $100 an ounce or higher, and I think that that will happen. And you know, Ted Butler wrote some months ago one of his most incisive essays, I thought, where he discusses the fact that the stage is being set for something that is maybe unprecedented, certainly very unusual for any kind of an investment metal. And that is, you have an asset bubble accompanied by an industrial shortage. So the thinking is that the demand will drive this the prices much higher, because not only will it be industrial demand, but investor demand as well too. And those two colliding with a shortage will take prices really unpredictably higher.
Yes, and the difference with gold is it's not being consumed on a regular basis, whereas silver, once it's in a product, in most cases probably isn't recovered. That
really adds to silver's volatility. And you know, when you think of a tsunami wave, if you or I were out in a small boat and this huge column of water, and that's what it is, it's a vertical column of water, passed beneath us, we might not even notice it because it would be in deep water, it would be moving rapidly in a certain direction. But it's when that wave goes into the shallower waters and hits the beach, that's when you really see that something amazing is going on. And I think that's what's going to happen when the demand and the supply collide in a way that really obviates the ability for people that want that supply of silver, not only industrial but investors as well too. That's when you're going to see the wave hitting the beach, so to speak, and some real fireworks begin. And I think that that's building slowly but inexorably as we're speaking.
We were mentioning off air that the financial problems in the world have been papered over, but underneath that wallpaper are huge gaps in the structure, and that's another reason why there might be demand for silver and gold, simply because the equity markets, which are already into record territory, still growing, at some point during this year, people do expect a downturn in the equity markets, and you know what happens to precious metals in a time like that.
That's true, Jim, and if we have a collision between what we were talking about before the break and the idea of the systemic faults in the system, where we have these tectonic plates rubbing against each other, these are financial tectonic plates, and if all that comes together at the same time, it's going to be even more massive than we're expecting. And so without all these things coming together, it's still going to be a bull market with a lot of potential on the upside. But if they come together at the same time in unpredictable ways, then it's Katie bar the door. And the thing about this particular wave of silver is that normally you think of a tsunami as being devastating to everything it touches. But people that kind of get out ahead of the wave, so to speak, accumulate a little physical metal, have some of the best mining stocks, it can, if it goes anything close like what may happen, it could really change their financial life in a very positive and major way. And so that's where, a person doesn't have to mortgage their home in order to really take advantage of something like this taking place, no matter how big it becomes. Just being rational about it and buying into weakness both on the metals and the miners, as we're seeing now, can really pay off in a big way. These shares of these producers have declined between 75 and 90% over the last 4 years from their 2011 highs. Very few people have any faith at all that we're going to see a price rise anytime soon. And that's where the advantage is. If everybody shared the same view on the upside, then there wouldn't be much potential. And I'd like to mention a particular website which has been very helpful in getting the word out about how silver demand has been going, and that's Steve St. Angelo's website at srsroco.com. We've interviewed Steve a couple times. We had him on a transcribed interview for Mastermind for David's Morgan Report, and he's also been in our report as an interviewee. And he does a lot of really good work. And just in the last day or so, he's posted a couple of pieces of information about Indian silver demand, which I think will really set people back on their heels when they see how big it is. Because the estimated silver demand for this year, from which we'll know within a month or so in terms of more exact figures, for India alone is around 28% of world mining production for the year for silver. And this is something that is really, I think, pretty much unnoticed by most people. And the chart that Steve shows on this, in addition to the fact that it's a record year for their silver imports, we haven't even talked about this time around this American silver eagles and Canadian maple eagles that are in record volume territory as well. It really shows you that from a variety of different angles that silver demand is really ramping up and staying there, in spite of what the silver bears might think.
David, have a great Christmas.
You too. It's been great speaking with you, Jim. 2015 is going to be a challenging year for everybody, but I think if you do your homework and you come up with a plan and then you activate that plan sensibly and carefully, I think you'll be very happy when you hear us speaking at the end of 2015 about this time.
My guest has been David Smith, Senior Analyst for the Morgan Report, which you can find online at silver-investor.com. You're listening to HowStreet.com Radio. Find us on Twitter at TalkDigitalNet. Our YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. Comments about the show can be sent to info@HowStreet.com. Merry Christmas, everyone. I'm Jim Goddard.
Comments made on HowStreet.com Radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com Radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.